welcome to the show Eat with the Owner.
Yes.
Today is episode 46.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I guess we don't need to introduce you. You're kind of famous in Montreal.
No, we should.
Balarama. It's a beautiful name.
I appreciate it.
The name is a god, right? Indian god.
Yes.
Hindu god.
A Hindu god, yes.
It's amazing.
That's a lot to live up to. Someone once asked me, they said, you have to live up to this whole Canadian Obama standard. I said, no, that's not that hard. I have to live up to a god's name. That's even harder.
I used to follow a lot of Obama, his speech or anything, or a lot of things about him to learn English, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, personally, I think you are more handsome than him.
Oh, appreciate that.
Yeah. But he probably can beat you on basketball.
I don't know about that. He can maybe beat me in a debate, but basketball, no.
You're very good at basketball. Top level.
That's my first sport.
Wow,
that's my first sport. Yeah.
Obama was pretty good.
He had a decent jump shot. I think that's about it.
For the show.
Yeah, for the show. Yeah. He edits out the misses.
Yeah. Actually, let me see the video still running or not. Yeah. Actually, today it's your book.
Yes.
Looks like you.
Kind of.
Yeah.
A younger version.
It's amazing. Actually, I finished your memoir. It's a great book. Eyes on the Horizon.
Yes.
It's already bestseller on the Amazon already, right?
Yeah, a bestseller in Canada across all platforms, Indigo and everything. So I'm very happy about that.
That's amazing. As I told you, I got it last week.
Yes.
Which day, I guess? Maybe a few days ago, but I finished reading it in 2 days. It's amazing.
And I've gotten some great feedback on that, is that people, once you pick it up, you can't put it down. It's kind of like the bag of chips.
Yeah. It's 212 pages. I told you already, I hope it's longer.
Yes. Well, one of the reasons why, as you noticed towards the end, I don't really unpack the political element of it. So I wanted it to be a story about my journey and who I am and the people around me, as opposed to like a policy analysis.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable. Like I was reading a lot of books about 10 years ago when I was living in West End. I still living there, but my job was in McGill downtown. So I took the train from West End, so I always had my one book. So it's one of the ways I learn English.
Oh wow! Yeah. And this one fares pretty good to the ones you were reading on the train.
Yeah, after opening having restaurant, so I started reading. But like this book is really, really easy to read.
Yes,
really enjoyable. So you don't some books like you feel like you put a little bit extra effort to read it to continue. But this one is amazing. But you do have some words I have to look up in the dictionary.
Oh, such as, if you want to.
Oh, some Indian, the Hindu.
Oh, yes.
Even other words, because my English is my second language, so sometimes that's why
that's normal.
I improve English by reading.
That's beautiful, and that's one of the things I try to do with the book, is to make it relatable. You know, even though my background is academic, sometimes in academia, we try to use all these big words to describe certain things. And I really made a concerted effort to make the book easy to read so that anyone can read it. You know, you could be, whether you're in high school or whether you have a PhD or whether you're trying to learn English, that you would be able to read and enjoy it.
It's great. But we don't want to expose too much about what's inside the book.
No, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. It's all good. That's why we're here.
It is really amazing. Like it's from see public face in Montreal or Quebec, this political scene right now, and then realize like you come from like a very spiritual background.
Yeah, and I think that's my strength. You know. And you can argue, I was in China for a bit, and that's also the strength of China, which is deeply anchored in history and heritage. And when you know your history and you know who you are and where you're from, and if it's connected, in my case, to spirituality, no one can shake you. So, being raised in an ashram and according to the Hindu tradition, the devil is materialism, is trying to get, for example, money or lustful desires.
Yeah.
That's so. As a politician, I'm in a position where I understand that the game we're playing is trivial.
Yeah.
So I'm very free in the way that I'm operating, because I know that fundamentally we're all just chasing money, power, attempting to impose our views on the world, fighting, these divisions in society and language and race. From a spiritual perspective, we're all wasting our
Yeah.
time, right?
What is the biggest religion in China? The biggest
religion
people really believe.
Is it Confucius? I don't even know if that's a religion.
Confucius is kind of philosophy to rule the country.
Okay.
It's for the ruling class, to how to guide the behavior of the hierarchy of the society.
Yeah.
But it's the Buddhism.
Okay, well, yeah.
Before the Buddhism is from India, I believe. From India, China got that Buddhism from India somehow. Yeah. That's why we always get the Bible from the West. There's the Monkey King.
Yeah.
That's the whole story. Is the monks, like the master monk and the three devils.
So the Monkey King in Hinduism, it's from Hanuman, but I don't know any other monkey.
Yeah, that Monkey King is a famous novel book. Written like only 500 years ago or 400 years ago. But it's a story kind of passed along generations. But then the very famous writer put everything in a book, made it much more famous. That's Monkey King, one of the three disciples or the
disciples. Yeah.
Disciples. It's like one of the three to help the master monk to go to India, to the West, to get the real Bible for the Buddhism. So that's the whole story. They'll have a lot of devils, a lot of those kind of crazy creatures, on the way. So that's why it's so famous, the Buddhism. But alongside Buddhism, there's Taoism, Tao, T-A-O, Tao. That thing, that it's kind of philosophy. At the same time, around the Confucius. That's how you have yin and yang and that kind of stuff. So
I really hope, and I'm pretty sure I did, that I included in my memoir that my father had a lot of books on Taoism.
Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah. So I was raised on a lot of principles of Taoism that helped me, particularly as a pro athlete.
Tao sometimes, all these philosophies actually was used by certain dynasties, the emperors in the past. Some of them, they try to adopt Taoism. Taoism, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not good at Chinese anymore. So one of the thing they teach is like you just let everything be natural. Like for the ruling class emperors, one time is about taxation. So one time, like the one emperor trying to tell, okay, we don't tax people that much. So let them, let the nature to get everything gonna figure out. So less tax on the people, and then like people are gonna get along well. So that's the philosophy that emperor tried to put on his government. Yeah. But then majority of Chinese history, about 2,200 years already for the imperial system. Like from first Emperor Qin, 221 BC. So always, most time, majority, 95% is Confucius. So Confucius give you the very strict hierarchy. So you have the emperor, so ministers, and all different levels, and the noble people, everything. So that's why another thing about China, probably you being there, you like teaching, and you will realize all the parents, they invest a lot more than what they probably possess on their kids' education, right?
Yeah, education is fundamental.
Yeah, education in China is more than enough, but nothing is enough, right? But the parents, Chinese parents, including me and my crazy wife, Tiger Mom.
Yeah.
So the education, but the emphasis on the education is crazy in China through the history, because one thing probably people in China not too long, they may not be aware is like we have a very famous thing is everything else in the government system, everything else is inferior. Only the scholars is superior. You know that too?
So, well, once a teacher, always a father, I guess, from the book you mentioned.
Yeah, that's the respect for the teaching. But then another one is once you get to a step above, always scholar system. So all the people in the back, 100,000 years ago, the young people, kids, if they want to get in the government, want to have the ideas on the society, how to manage the society better, the only way there is through study. So that's why even today, all the time, my parents' generation, my generation in China, it's kind of imprinted in the minds. It's like always education. So that thing is probably going to help Canada or some United States to have more focus on the education.
Yeah, I think education is very important, and I talk about it in the book.
And actually, to save some time, you want to order a little bit.
Let's do this. Ooh. So, as everyone knows, I am a vegetarian.
So, for the appetizer, there's edamame, a vegetarian. Actually, most of them vegetarian.
Most of them are
Only
vegetarian.
the first one not.
Delicious. So, but you know what I have for the appetizer is your the beans with the pepper, and we mentioned that.
Oh yeah, that's the main dish.
It's so good.
That's dry fried green beans.
I'm gonna have dry fried green beans. And what's your version of salt and pepper tofu?
Salt and pepper tofu. You can try this one. But this one is tofu stir fry with pot herb mustard. This one is very light. But the other one you're pointing to sweet, spicy fried tofu. That one is deep fried tofu.
Deep fried tofu.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have the deep fried tofu.
Yeah, it has more taste, flavor, more flavor.
So I think I'm good. And then just with like a side of white rice. Do you have crispy noodles?
Cantonese noodle, right?
Yeah, it's
deep fried, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is very popular. You can try that one too. Instead of the steamed rice, probably you can take that one.
Yeah, instead of the steamed rice. Yeah. Sounds good. Beautiful.
You know what I'm gonna eat?
What are you gonna? You're gonna be vegetarian today.
No, today I'm not eating anything.
No,
actually,
share with me.
Okay, I eat a little bit. Because every day I play soccer. So
very bad. Where do you play?
I play I've been here 17 years, almost 18 years. But last 12, 13 years, I had a Chinese team, all Chinese.
Oh, so I can't join. I was going to say I was going to join you.
Hey, actually, we play Saturday night, 9 to 11 in the Lashing complex.
Yeah. I know where that is.
Yeah, we play there.
52nd Avenue.
Every Saturday night. And then we have a Mexican guy, a friend of friend, Mexican guy.
And if I could say, I know ER says if I come in and say that, I'm sure I could fit in.
You're going to be you're very physical. You're going to be frightening to other guys.
I don't know. I used to be very physical and frightening.
I'm 43 years old. So we've been playing together, similar group of Chinese people, used to be 30, we athletic, little bit energized, but now it's slowing down.
It is slowing down. I'm 39, so I'm going to enjoy my 30s for a few more months.
Give me 1 second.
I'm 40 in July. I can no longer call myself a youth.
It's pretty good.
I feel youthful, so that's what counts.
You do a lot of workout, but for me, the problem, I don't have time to work out, but I have a lot of washing dishes, cutting vegetables, all that kind of stuff.
Being a cook and being a chef and a business owner.
I did not know how to cook at all. So
yeah. How'd you go from IT to the kitchen?
So the first several years, I was hand off, 100%. I just came in the front to help, or the back little bit helping. Only during the pandemic, I helped with the kitchen more every day. I know a little bit more, but always we have cooks. Chef cooks, so I'm learning still. One day, after a few years, probably I'm good at cooking a little bit.
Wow, I would love to take cooking classes. You should have cooking classes.
Let me see. What is the other? Okay, Cantonese noodle with vegetable only. Okay, great. Do you want to add mame as well? No?
No, it's good.
Okay, great.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
we'll be really fast. I go downstairs.
Okay.
Great. I'm back.
All right.
So, what do we talk about? Spirituality.
Anything you like?
Yeah, it's but like from the first 10 years you were spent in actually not. You moved into US when you were 1, right? Or,
Yeah.
So 9 years.
Yeah.
To be exact.
Yes.
So how do you like the living in the United States, like a very spiritual village?
Yeah.
And you were very happy.
Very happy, and despite the fact that I wasn't with my parents very often, I was raised in the rolling hills of West Virginia, so the Appalachian Mountains, and living in an ashram where every day we meditate, we pray. It's very austere. Austere meaning, cold showers, fasting before noon at times. All these different things created inner strength, resilience, and a strong moral compass. So most of the policies that I have today, people might wonder why, but they're all linked back to my value system that was really anchored and etched in me from a very young age.
That's why you're very strong mentally, right? When you see challenges, probably, otherwise, other people probably gonna give up. But
they might crumble under the pressure. But yeah, I think that one thing, I could be criticized for a lot of different things. Most politicians are. But one thing that in French we say, "Tu peux pas me rapprocher," you can't contest me on that, is the mental fortitude and the consistency. My friends call it stamina and focus.
Yeah, stamina.
So if you have stamina and you have focus, and there's a point and it's 100 kilometers away, and I don't know, it's kind of like the whole rabbit versus the hare versus the turtle. Is that eventually I'm gonna get there, and I've done that throughout my whole life. Is when I have a point or an objective, we're gonna keep going until our bones break, until we tear our ligaments, until we crumble and we almost go bankrupt. But we're gonna keep going, and that's what we've done.
That's actually I really can relate to that. My background is like growing up in the village doing farming stuff. When I had the first memory, I was lifting stuff, like helping my parents doing the stuff in the very heavy lifting. So that's very interesting. Like I'm not sure I'm strong-willed, but I'm physically kind of persistent. That's why it's like a destination. Seriously, when I look back right now, because I went to university. Then I'm kind of destination. I'm destined to do the physical labor. Like the restaurant business.
Yeah, you thought you were gonna just be,
office guy all the time, like
moving boxes or something.
Sitting in the office all the time. Because but then when I had the restaurant, so I'm doing a lot of labor stuff, like a lot of lifting, washing dishes, kind of carry a bag of rice, whatever. But then if I was living in a city, growing up in a city, I think I could not do that.
100%. Living in the countryside definitely is strengthens you.
Yeah, exactly. So when I see like a lot of stuff in front of me, like either washing dishes, like or something, then I always look back. What I did was like we have to turn the ground. Like for example, we have a land like this, patch land like this big, or 5 times of this room, or 10 times. But then we have to dig it one by one.
Yeah.
When you look at like when you were tiny, when I was 7, 8,
it looks so big.
Yeah. And then like we kind of use that spatula or something, the spade.
Yeah.
That thing, like we turn the ground one by one.
Yeah.
When you spend like half an hour doing only like this big, and you look ahead like maybe 100 times, or and you always want to give up, but you cannot.
You can't.
Yeah.
You gotta keep going.
So that's the thing. I always even told my wife, I said, you working here 7 days a week, you don't feel tired? Because I've been to that when I was 7, 8.
Yeah.
I look at that like even today, I really amazed people. We did not have that kind of tractors that time when very young, the early ages. So people literally use the spade to turn the ground, huge, like one by one. My parents, like, I have 2 older brothers. We had to help because, like, who could have helped them? So we like desperate, hopeless. You just don't see the end of that thing. And at the end, we did it.
Yeah.
And then also the paddy stuff, the paddy field with you literally stand in the mud.
Yeah.
You bend down. So you have to have really, now I have back problem, I guess. But we used to be very, very, very strong. Like when I was 5, 10, like from the school, we finished school about 5, 6, 4 o'clock. We don't go home. We go to the field directly. The school bag, we just put on the mud. And then we start doing that, helping on the paddy field. And you bend all the time. So it's like, and also muddy. The mud is this deep, and with little bit water above the mud. Yeah. And you put that like
you're planting rice.
Yeah. So we did that all the time. So it's huge, and we put 2 lines. Actually, we use a string, super long string, to guide. So you do, for example, if you want to do 6 rows in a time, one time, 6 rows, super long, and you have 2 strings here, 2 straight strings. And then, between these 2 long strings, you probably do 5 rows. So make it 7. So the super long, and at the beginning you are not good, you are only 5 or 6 or 7. So the parents only let you do along the string, so it's going to be straight anyway. So you put them down along the string, 2 strings. And then the experts, the parents, they are the experts. They do the 5 rows in the middle.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So they make sure every time they put down, and then they go, the backwards actually. So they go and then put the 5 down, and then you have the distance of maybe this much, and then put another row like going back.
And you're going vertical, and they're going horizontal.
Yeah. So, but when you graduate, when you are good enough, they let you do the middle. At the beginning, the kids only can do the 2 strings along the string, so it's always straight.
So what makes the middle more difficult?
Because you have, for example, you do these 2 strings, you always have straight, right? And then you have to space them out. Yeah. So this you cannot keep them straight. So the middle is more expert. So you have 4 or 5, so you have to keep them straight.
I get it. I get it.
So you have to measure it mentally. So they did not trust us when we were too young. But then after some time, we take out, the whole thing.
And by what age were you able to do like the whole thing?
I guess about 10 or It depends on the trust. They say like when you do several times, it's kind of going that way. It's not a straight line. It's not good. The straight line is very important for the maintenance during the summer, because you have water always above for the rice. Always, like, if you don't have the straight line, and when you have the weeds in the middle, you want to get rid of them. It's very difficult, because we use that little tool to kind of pull back and forth, so the tiny weeds are gonna be turned kind of uprooted, upside down, so they're gonna float on the water, so they die.
Wow.
that's a noodle thing.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's thank you and 谢谢?
谢谢. Yeah. Or the return would be 不客气. Return the 不客气, 谢谢 and 不客气.
Okay.
不客气 means what?
Thank you again.
No, it's nothing at all or something. Don't be too polite. 不客气 means 不 means no. 不客气 means polite. It literally saying like don't be too polite. You say 谢谢不客气.
谢谢不客气 meaning don't
be too polite. It means just like a response.
Okay, that way she would tell me.
Yeah. When you say thank you, the response is gonna be don't be too polite. It's not a big thing or whatever. It's like
no problem.
Yeah, no
like,
problem.
Like,
Yeah, I never thought of that. Yeah, 不客气 means
no problem.
Yeah, don't be too polite.
Interesting.
But then after that, you came back to Montreal when you were 10. That time must be interesting. You were born here, you were not speaking French, and then you came to a French place back when you were 10 years old.
Yeah. And I went to une classe d'accueil, so a welcome school.
Yeah, welcome school. That's a lot of Chinese immigrants, we have that experience. Yeah. Our kids, for me, it's not an issue. My daughter, she's 10 today, this year. So she's 10 already. So she was born here, so not an issue for her. But if you are immigrant, came here with a child like 5, 6, 10, you always go to the welcome class.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And it was very inclusive. I felt like I was at home, despite the fact that I was new in Montreal. I felt as though all the people that were around me were similar to me because we all felt like immigrants, but we weren't aware we were immigrants because we're just 10 years old. And we feel included, we feel at home, and it was actually a great experience, la classe d'accueil. It was a phenomenal experience.
Yeah, I guess it's
my favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite.
You may be disappointed because China, they're going to do a lot bad version than our.
Yeah, okay, but what makes it so much better in China? I understand, but
I don't know. Maybe the mystery. Maybe we're the same. Maybe the mystery. Or maybe their chefs are more experienced, more talented or whatever.
I might have to call some friends to help me finish this, but this is salivating here. I'm going to leave this one here and this one here. Okay.
It's always popular, this one. But actually, all the immigrants, for me, my experience as well, when I meet a lot of people from other countries immigrate here, so you always feel welcoming, always feel friendly because you are outsiders as well. You are newcomers. So everybody kind of very easy.
Yeah, it's just when you get older, and then you figure out that, the government might have policies that might not make you feel at home. Yeah. Or you might not get the job that you want because the name that you have doesn't meet the culture of the person hiring you. And all these things come into play once you leave the classroom, if you will. So the welcome school is very welcome, but once you get older, you figure out that, oh wait, maybe it's not as welcome as I thought it was. How was your daughter enjoying welcome school? Or no, she didn't go to welcome school.
No,
she was born here.
Yeah, she was born here. So I guess it's much easier for her. So we were living in West Island. So, but anyway, the daycare, everything was French. So French, and also the primary school. Right now she's in grade 4. So language is not ever, all the culture is not it's very natural for her.
And she speaks French and English
and Mandarin. That's why a lot of times I think Montreal is a great place to raise a family. Like the kids growing up here, naturally they speak at least 2 languages, English, French, and if they come from another kind of background language, so you naturally have 3 languages.
You spoke Mandarin at home?
we live in our in-laws, so they don't speak any French. So our daughter like has to practice Mandarin with them.
Oh wow!
But with us, like she wants to use French, the English with me. My wife speaks some French, maybe English, French with me. I don't know. It's a big debate within Chinese families. If you want to have more Chinese heritage, or like want the kids to be more influent in Chinese, especially reading and writing, a totally different story. A lot of some Chinese parents, they want their kids growing up here to be able to read or write Chinese as well. But that's a heavy task, heavy stuff for really takes a lot of time and energy for the kids as well. So it's kind of different families have different, priorities on the languages. But it's we have a lot of discussions among other Chinese friends. Their kids, they spend a lot of time for the kids to learn Chinese or not.
And what's your view on that?
My view is, but I'm maybe the minority, I guess. I think it's like more French English, like you're in Montreal, so for her it's like it's much better for her. It's like to be really good reading literature in French and English than Chinese. I don't think she has enough. She's speaking fine right now, Chinese, understanding like conversations with grandparents, no problem with like in Mandarin. But I guess she can only recognize 10 to 100 characters, like just guess by guessing, not even really remembering the.
Yeah, because each symbol is a word.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very tough for them.
Very, very difficult. Or there is an alphabet, but there's the traditional.
Oh yeah, versions. That one is very, very, very. We call pinyin or the traditional alphabet, Chinese alphabet. It's not very useful if you don't use them very daily.
But in my book, I talk about after I go to this welcome school, I moved to an all-white neighborhood in Montreal.
That one tough.
So that's where
they give you the English name, French name. They give you a different name.
Different name. The fact that I'm a vegetarian becomes a problem. It's the first time in my life that I feel as though I'm on the outside. I never experienced this before. Because in the ashram and in this village, if you will, everyone's included. The welcome class, everyone's included. And then all of a sudden, you're like the ugly duckling. You're
very different from everybody else.
You're different from everyone else. And then that's where you begin to rebel. Initially, you want to assimilate, but then eventually you say, oh, to the hell with this, and you begin to rebel.
And also, that's the worst timing also when you were that age. Is that people generally, the young kids around that age, they kind of rebel naturally, right? So it's kind of a worst timing.
It wasn't good timing, but I would say growing up poor and being excluded, it teaches you a lot about life. It's better in many ways than to be wealthy, living in a homogenous environment. Yeah, the money in your house and your car can protect you, but it only will take you so long. If you run into an obstacle and you were harbored your whole life and protected by your maids and your chef and your private tutors, as soon as you run into an obstacle, you're going to break. That's why a lot of boxers, they grew up poor and their resilience shows in the ring, but it's kind of hard to be a boxer when you're rich, right? There's nothing to fight, and you can't overcome anything. You're not a fighter. Everything's handed to you on a silver platter. So in politics, people often wonder why I'm fighting all these issues, whether it's race or language, is because I was policed by principals in the hallways to speak French because I was speaking English on my part-time, called the N-word. So I've always been fighting back against this. So my policies at the municipal or provincial level, it kind of reflects my upbringing.
What is I also grew up super poor, probably more poor than you.
Probably, because you're in rural China.
In rural China. So, but what you said is very, very kind of accurate. Like when you were like in the welcoming school and in the stay in the spiritual village, you never feel anything because you're a lot of people around you the similar situation. So the first time is like in the small town in Quebec, so you feel like you are standing out. When I was very poor in China, we did not have race issue at all because all Chinese.
Yeah.
So only thing, the discrimination or something is the money. If you are very poor, like even you are from a small village, you go to a city, you self-aware, kind of self-conscious, saying like you are inferior. That kind of feeling is from the being poor. But then I was in the primary school, junior high school, senior high school, all these years, I was super happy. Even we had nothing almost. We were super happy because we did not feel like other kids kind of get more money or more stuff than me. So I was okay. The first time is the university time. I went to the big city, Tianjin University. That's the first ever I ever went to a city. So when I was 18 years old, went to the Tianjin University. So everybody else they came from a much better family financially. So I was we had 28 computer science. In our class, we had 28 students. Only 28 for the class. I was the only one from a real village.
Oh, wow.
Or some of them from capital cities. Like, the capital city, like usually Shanghai or the Nanjing would be capital city of Jiangsu province. When you're from a capital city, that means you're from a big city. So the parents, your parents gonna have
money.
So I was the only one. So that time I got a lot of trouble. And then I realized I was the only one not having the money. So over the weekend, the students from the same dorm, we had 7 in the same dorm, we living in the school. So they all say, let's go out for eating.
Karaoke.
We go to a restaurant.
Yeah.
But I went with them because I just did not have money to do the AA sharing. So I felt like really bad. So I had a lot of physical fights with them too.
Oh, wow.
The same people living in the same room. When they was joking with me, they're telling jokes about, like one time we were watching the Independence Day. One guy, the dorm mate, told me like, you look like Will Smith. I guess maybe I was a little bit darker as a Chinese, right? So it was a compliment actually. Will Smith was, very handsome, big actor. So after watching the movie Independence Day, one of the guys said, you look like Will Smith. I was really pissed off actually. Because I was sensitive because I thought I was dark tone. So we kind of, all these kind of small things, I was super sensitive. So I had a lot of physical fights with them. So that was the worst time ever, like the 4 years in the university. I was really, even today I look back, that's the only time I was really kind of not happy, really unhappy, like easily get into any fight, arguments, fights, anything is offensive to me.
And what made you shift, like in terms of, stop fighting or using the energy in a different way?
It's only the money. So the first job, I graduated 2001. The first job is the top company in the country. So the job gave me the first salary. It was amazing first month. So because I learned computer science, so that time was booming. The internet was booming in China. So 2001. So the first job was amazing. So once the money issue was not an issue anymore. So slowly I adjust myself. I find, I have money now. I can dress well. I don't worry about. The first job in Shenzhen, I bought a condo there after 2 or 3 years. So it's the money thing. But I never have self-confidence, even today. It's when you lost in your childhood or whatever, it's very, very tough to get back. So I'm always sensitive.
But you don't have self-confidence and you're always sensitive. Like, can you talk about those two things? Because are those the same thing? Like, how do you relate those two things? It's
like at the beginning was it's like a low confidence esteem, self-esteem. But then the confidence thing is like you just always think about everything is my own fault. Anything I find problem, I will look, it's probably the way I say it, or the something wrong with me. It's all the time, even today. If I do, when I have argument with different opinion with somebody else, I would look inside, say probably it's my problem. Maybe I understand it wrong.
But that's just accountability. I don't think that's
it's
self-confidence.
It's a self-confidence. I never had it. Even I don't know what it's like, but I know I don't have it. It's like I never confident.
Okay, when you open a restaurant, do you think that the restaurant will be successful, or do you think the restaurant is going to fail?
No, that time was, I never thought it would be successful because that time I was bored. And also my wife wanted to, having our baby, she did not want to go to an office job. She had an office job for 2 or 3 years. Having the first baby, she wanted to be a little bit flexible, but then turned out to be wrong. Having restaurant, that's the reason we opened the restaurant. I never thought but now I don't know, but I think I'm a little bit confident about the things I can say the word. I spend a lot of time learning English to get a lot of information from everything, Canada, United States. So I try to think a lot about how things is done, even the Montreal, Quebec. That's why I'm super interested about the politics.
But when you play soccer, for example, when you have a penalty kick, do you feel like you can make it?
Oh, that's the thing. Every time I played soccer when I was in senior high school, the first time I ever saw a soccer ball, ever, like from a village. Every time, even today, in a team, it's just like nobody's really good, right? It's just amateur players. Every time I feel like I'm criticized. I never point out anybody's fault. But a lot of time you feel like you are picked on all the time. For like, I play soccer for 20 some years already. I feel like sometimes I just feel not comfortable before. So every time, like when you play like some bad play or something, so some people, you always have 1 or 2 people they want to say, oh, it's your fault, or kind of you're supposed to doing this or instead of that. So I always felt like I was kind of picked on. I always like, in the college, university time, we're playing soccer, like sometimes I just stopped going. Like I feel like every time I got uncomfortable, like why it's not, but then I realized maybe they were right, Every time I just did not fit in very well. The confidence, even today. But luckily, I've been managing this team as a secretary, we call. I'm secretary for this Chinese team for like 10 years, more than 10 years already. So people give me a little bit respect on that one. But on the skills or whatever, so they still, it's not good. But because I'm managing the team a little bit, so they don't point out that often. That helped me to build, a little bit more comfortable on the field. That's the thing. I always feel like, it's like in the teamwork, any team sport, I will have trouble, to feel like, I every time I was picked down, pointed out, like over the time, I feel like I cannot stay on this position. Like if I want to play in the right forward or something, but then the 2 or 3 times saying like, you waste a lot of chances, or you cannot run back to defend. So then I move back to the defender. So
do you feel that you're better in individual sports, that you have more confidence in individual sports?
I'm not dealing with the criticism. That's the thing. I feel like
no, but an individual sport, it's just you. Like say, for example, 100 meters or ping pong or badminton.
Physically, I'm not that good. For the sprint, I'm really bad. But endurance, that's for my farming job.
So a marathon.
Yeah, marathon. I did 10 years ago. Did the semi-marathon Montreal.
Okay.
Scotiabank.
And did you enjoy yourself?
Not at all. But I try to keep that thing.
I'm trying to work with you here, man.
I'm not good at sport. Not at all. Not good at sport. Just like being. I like playing soccer because of the teamwork. I know a lot of friends. The teamwork and it's more fair. Soccer is more fair. It's like doesn't matter you are short or tall and a little bit skinny or a little bit heavier. The teamwork. But on the confidence thing, I always feel like But
Name me one thing that you're confident in. One thing.
I guess persistent. I'm good at washing dishes
Right.
in the pandemic.
We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere.
Because I know if I put hours, I can improve. That's the confidence I have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even the restaurant business, we are not doing very well. You know, but I still believe if I spend more time in the restaurant 7 days a week, 15 hours a day, and then I know the business more, you know, I will be good at getting better at managing it. I'm very patient. That's the thing from my childhood. Very patient.
Yeah. Now, beyond doing dishes, when you're in IT, putting up a firewall, managing a team, do you feel confident that you could prevent a hack?
No. No, actually. I learned computer science, you know. The first job is telecom.
Yeah.
Actually, telecom has nothing to do with coding, to the programming. I was learning computer science. We learned C language, all the kind of C++.
Yeah.
But I was never good at programming.
Okay.
But I never did the programming after the graduation. But it's the telecom, like we use the software to deploy, do a project, to do some configuration, to do the network tools, those kind of stuff. But I was never good at technical stuff. I liked more like communication. The best job in the last 20 years, 19 years of IT career, I was project manager for a project. We deploy a system for the telecom system.
And were you confident in your ability to deploy that system?
I was a little bit confident about getting the team together. We had a local team, about 20-some people in Brazil, like half of them from the Shenzhen headquarters, half of them from local. So I was a little bit confident about getting people together. I talk soft, you know. I deal with people. Can you do this? I'm not ordering people to do things, but I'm kind of begging, you know, like to see like this good people good at this or that. I'm always soft. Really, that's the thing. I feel like going forward will be okay for me. Even the restaurant business, I talk to staff, employees there. I'm always like feel I do more than them, and then I'm really with super respect to negotiate with them to say like, can you do this for me? Like, can we do this way instead of that way? Can we get things more organized? You know, it's always negotiation. That's my being soft, but I think it's doing in my favor, to be honest.
For sure.
Yeah. So interperson, like never, because that's back to my super sensitive. My feeling was hurt millions of times. That's why I don't want to hurt other people's feelings. So
your feelings were hurt. What, like you mean heartbreaks, or like feelings were hurt in other ways? Like you mean in the loving relationships?
No, it's daily stuff. Like I feel like I was mistreated. People did not respect me. Even I'm chewing loud. Even my daughter was telling me a lot of time, you don't talk when you have food in your mouth, and then you don't chew when you. But in the countryside, nobody pay attention. So we're eating super loud. So the first time I was pointed out by a colleague when I was in UK doing project, I feel really bad. You know, even in the college, in the students, nobody tell you like you eat loud. But the first time I was in UK, London, and then my own colleague told me like eating loud. I feel really bad. I feel.
But you were eating loud in that you were smacking, or when you were talking while eating?
Smacking. So that's even today. If I put my conscience, maybe eating with you or some people important or some guests or some family friends, I probably gonna self-conscious say, oh, let's close my mouth. When I chew, I close my mouth. But when I was with my daughter eating, and she said, "Daddy," loud.
But I think that's how you improve, right? So I think that I wouldn't characterize what you're describing as low self-confidence. The way I see it is that you're a people person. So whether it's a team from China or from Brazil, you can bring them together. Same thing with your soccer team. And because you're humble as a blade of grass and tolerant as a tree, you're able to mitigate conflict. So you're a mediator.
I try to. That's why I'm super soft.
But so that's not saying you have low self-confidence, I think puts you in a good position to be a mediator in high tense situations because we know that your ego won't be involved. So if there's a conflict between two people, you're able to step in and then to mediate or to organize a team or to lead a project. So I think that you're not characterizing it as a strength, but you're very aware of who you are and the actions that you take, and that helps you improve.
Yeah.
Because the people who, there's a very famous saying. It's like, do you want to hire, say you're an IT, you have an IT business. Do you want to hire the person with 130 IQ that really thinks they have 120? Or do you want to hire the person who has 150 IQ that thinks they have a 190? No, you want to hire the person that believes they have room for improvement, not the person that's overconfident and thinks that they're smarter than they really are. So because you have a very humble view of yourself, you're able to learn and you're able to get advice from people.
That's my thing. I always want to learn.
Yeah.
The learning English, and I'm supposed to say learning French in Montreal. But I still learn, but just don't have a lot of time. But learning English is the big blessing for me. I guess after the humiliation from UK, the first time I realized my English was pretty bad when I was in London in 2003. So the first phone call from the project, I went there on a business trip to take over the project from previous. They gave me a cell phone with a customer, so the customer called us on the cell phone number, right? So the first time, I received a call, I just second day there got London. I was handed over that cell phone. So one day, the second day or whatever, so I received a call. I did not understand what the call was about, and then I said pardon 3 times. The guy just hung up.
Oh.
The accent, also my vocabulary, whatever, I just could not understand. I did not know it's for me or not. It's a wrong call or not. I did not know. So actually, another colleague was kind of a few years older than me or more experienced. So he just kind of laughed at me, actually. Actually, he chastised me, saying, how could you do a project without being able to talk to, picking up a phone?
And what was your response over time? Did you put more effort into learning English?
Yeah, right away. From that, I went to a local shop to buy a radio receiver. I was listening to BBC radio all the time. Every time I was walking the street of London or the Reading, I spent some time in the Reading, the suburb of London. So every time I was walking, I was listening to BBC radio. That was 2003, and then I carried that over to when I came to Canada. All the time I listened to CBC and reading a lot of Wikipedia. That's why I'm a big fan of Obama. So I read, and his first speech on the DNC made him famous. The first time ever on the national TV. I guess that DNC speech I listened to maybe 5 times already. 6 times.
We're not red states or blue states. We're the United States.
Yeah. So that's
a really skillful politician.
That's amazing. That speech was the only one appearance on the national TV turned you into a president.
Yeah. Would you ever consider going into politics?
No, never for me. I have a theory. I have a lot of creative theories. I always stay in the private sector because for me the politics public is very tough if you use other people's money. The politicians in your business, in the field, you are managing taxpayers' money.
Yes.
When you are managing other people's money, not your own money, it's very tough. People always criticize you, and you have the extra responsibilities. So it's not for me. Actually, if one day I always want to be the big dream is be a successful business person. I take my own risks and my own financial stuff, but the politics, public stuff is too much for me to handle. My conscience is I cannot waste other people's money. I just, if I have that much pressure on me, So I'm gonna crack.
It's definitely tough to manage taxpayer money.
Yeah.
That's not easy. Absolutely not.
So my own stuff is I never touch politics. I want to talk about it. I want to really pay attention to it. It's so fun. It's the fundamental. That's why I see the people in the politics, they're super brave and they're inspirational as well. Some of them, they have bad intention of the security, financial security, the retirement, everything great, the benefits. But I guess a lot of them, they really have the aspiration to really contribute to how the society is managed, how it's fundamental. The politics is the basic stuff, how people interact with each other. So that's the thing over these years, I'm reading a lot, watching a lot of videos. Really, that's amazing. People doing politics, you're gonna assume them really noble people.
And for you as a business owner, what are some of the policies that you care about in Montreal?
Language, and also I have a lot of negative things about Montreal to say. A lot of the good things as well.
Let's hear the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Let's start with the bad news first.
Yeah. It's a lot of waste for the money for the municipal. It's also it's kind of, you don't see the effort by the municipal, the whole thing to run into a very efficient system to take care of people, like people's money, to spend their money. Like a lot of program is not transparent either. So it's I'm an IT guy. So if one day somebody wants to hire me to manage a city, to be a helper assistant, I would do a great job, to be honest. I think I have a lot of ideas about how to run things efficiently. Especially at the city level or the provincial level. Right now, with very easy access, the IT tools, you can do 100 times better than before. So, I'm very technical. For example, in Montreal, you have 311, right? Where you need help to call the city, you have 311. But you have people to answer the phone, super not efficient at all. There's any level, no efficiency. But if you have it's service, we call it service desk. The tool already, a lot of companies doing the software already. So we create ticket system. It's got probably a better way to call it ticket system. So you have ticket system. Anybody need help, need some requests, you all go through a ticket system. Yeah. And then have a computer, you kind of log a ticket request, and then gonna follow the procedure. So we have tons of that, and it's really low cost, almost no cost. And then you can have all the citizens, you can hide the privacy by giving them a special ID tied to their real identity, but have a kind of another name or the ID or the code. So when they have issues, they kind of log there, and then you have communication. All the mayors, all the people managing the city, they're supposed to be on either social media or this system, ticket system, so it can be responsive. Any issues, as long as nature, so you can talk to people directly. When all the citizens, they can have their opinion right there. So you can, every policy, all the bills, all the, everything they can discuss. And then the budget or projects will be super fun. And then you can raise awareness of a lot of young politicians, young people, they know how the city is run. So a lot of people, they have talents. They're gonna come up with better ideas, with better solutions. It will be much better. If you don't have if you don't utilize the IT solutions today, you're just wasting your money. The efficiency is like Stone Age. It's so cheap right now with all the GPT thing right now, the OpenAI GPT thing, make it even all the tools and gonna reduce the cost and make the city much better.
So how do you see the ChatGPT? What's the extent of where that can go? Right now you can tell it, ask it a question or write you an email, but that's just the beginning of what it can do. So where do you see?
It will help I think it's always people are gonna little bit scared of what it can do, the new stuff. It's like the Google search at the beginning. You know, people get it's cheating if you get the answer right away from internet, and you know it's but it's a tool. It depends. Like people need to be more welcoming to the new tools. It depends how do you use the new tool and make better use of the tool. And with all the AI, everything, the efficiency will be increased a lot. So, but at the same time, you always like have some rules to guide. You know. Like it's a great tool, but the tools can be used for bad things as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to be
but
very
as a
aware.
city and all the politicians, I think the new technology you have to use it very well. And then in Montreal, it's you see a lot of the waste, everything. Even today, during the pandemic, they ask. There's a city like workers. They came to inspect all the restaurants or the business to inspect the garbage bins. So they ask us to lock the garbage bins. So imagine that's the priority during the pandemic. And the restaurant owners are already dying. And then they ask us to call the waste management, the company, to send a new lock, to have a lock installed on the garbage bins during the pandemic. We were barely surviving. So they ask us to the actual thing. To lock the garbage bins, we have 4. And also we pay. I recently checked the bill. I don't pay attention to the bill from the waste management company. We pay $120 on the carbon tax.
Oh wow!
Every month. So as a small restaurant. So you see what people are doing. You know, it's imaginable. They ask us to. Also, they lock the garbage bin. Look at other things they don't lock. You know, the garbage bin, they have their reasons for sure. You know, they always say like maybe they put the dangerous stuff in your garbage bins, but that's the priority during the pandemic, and the business like bankrupting, and then also you have to print a label, heavy label on the. We have 4 gray garbage bins. You have to print 4. You apply online to Montreal City, apply online, and then you tell them where they are, and they have individual labels. You cannot print them by yourself. You have to ask the city to print. You go to Balarama. There's an office building, Balarama metro station. You have to go there to pick up. And then what kind of stuff? You just take a business owner to have extra hour to go there to pick up the printed, and you wait there in line to pick up those printed label, come back to stick them to the garbage bins. So this kind of stuff is they spend. It's a nice thing for the city worker to drive an electric car to come all the way to check everybody's garbage area, and then the money is spent on these things. That's the thing we are talking about. Who made the decision, to check all the garbage bins, and how many people, how many businesses in downtown. How many garbage bins you have to check? That's manpower. That's the money, taxpayers' money spent on this thing. And what is the reasoning for the priority? It's amazing. I'm an IT guy. I look at this. I even talked to the city worker. He kind of in the back of the building. I was talking. Do you think it is necessary? The guy literally, I don't like it either, but it's my order. I just doing my job,
following my orders.
It's amazing. This kind of stuff, if you put this in the public, have a good discussion to the website, whatever the ticket system, have an open discussion, people are going to point out right away. We have homeless issue, we have all kinds of mental issues on the people on the street, and you spend the money on this.
That's incredible.
Yeah, people even don't have clothes or the home to stay, and you worry about people throwing some crazy stuff in your garbage bins, and you make them. And also, the locks, they bring the waste management company. They give you they have to install the tip, right? You kind of put the lock on, and that thing is on the top, and the garbage bin you flip the lid, right? You have to go through there, and that thing stick out, and it's gonna break your garbage bag. So every time it's in the way, you kind of after 1 week, one garbage pickup, you see it's broken already. And even the locks, they're the Balarama quality, and 2 weeks gone. So, and then you have to call the waste management again to ask them to send new locks. And then they literally told us they're in the back order. They just don't have so many locks.
And then the city comes and says, "Where's your lock?"
Yeah. So you see, but right now they're lenient. We don't have the locks for a few months already, but I don't see them any like city worker come to give me trouble. But I think they realize it's kind of silly already. It's not enforceable. It's not doable at all. So this kind of stuff is citywide. Imagine how that's millions of dollars easily.
Yeah,
the manpower, the hours on the and the business also waste a lot of the low quality locks and the keys. And you have to talk to the one time the city worker has to stay with me 2 hours because they thought I was not contacting waste management. I had to stay on the phone with a lot of call waiting, right? The waiting time on the waste management company. So the city worker in the restaurant, like while I was on the call with waste management company, that guy was waiting almost 2 hours.
He's happy because he's being paid. He's wasting your time.
Yeah. It's crazy. That's the thing is, it's a great city. Montreal is a great city. It's like when you manage it, you have to make sense. You have to. The people who having the power have to be aware. And like you are managing people's money, people taxpayers' money. You don't waste them easily. Sometimes you make good decision, bad decision is normal. But this kind of decisions, it's a common sense.
Yeah.
You don't kind of throw money like that. That's the thing is like responsibility is like too heavy. But some people they're more aware of the response. Some people they don't care. When they have power, they say, I don't care. It's not to people directly. But when you have the IT system, somehow you can talk to people. They can talk to you. You can answer directly. It gives you more real. Probably the top people, top leaders or politicians, they may be more aware, more feel like a real people. That's the connection. You have to have a connection, and then help them as well. The people, citizens, are gonna probably help them to improve as well. Instead of like, let's do the okay job, not bad. Next time I'm gonna win again election. It's
that's a whole other ball game.
Yeah, but it's that's why I'm naive. I don't think I can never be in this game because I don't know, because my impression is it's not the best people can get the job. It's if you are smart enough, get more backdoor deals or something probably, but it's not like everything out in the front, right? Or in the open to say like I have great ideas on running this or that. I give you solutions. Even you have best solutions, but you may not win, right? That could be the case. I'm just guessing.
100%. You could have great policies and not win. That's.
I could be a good assistant. Even in the team, soccer team, I'm not the person making the shots, but I can help. I tell you in charge, you're a captain, whatever. But then I can help you to who's the attendance, how many people gonna attend on this Sunday morning soccer, like in the summer, or how many people in the Saturday night in the winter indoor game. So how many show up? Like if we have too many people, have two teams, too many people say I need to say, no, let's get 2 or 3 people not coming. I doing that kind of stuff.
But have you ever scored a goal before?
No, I score in soccer. I always score.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you're more than just a guy that does the administration. You score goals.
Yeah, a little bit. Sometimes when you suffer a lot, sometimes you get some enjoyment.
That's fun.
But what makes you want to do the politics? That's very tough. Tough decision. Really tough.
What makes me want to go into politics? Well, it's pretty simple. I grew up with not much, and the definition of politics. So if I were to ask you, what's the definition of politics? The simple way, what would you say?
Organize people, the society, how I think it's, as I said, it's very, very basic, important, essential stuff for how people interact with each other.
How people interact with each other. You can argue that's the definition of telecommunications. You said it before. It's managing people's money, deciding who gets what.
Yeah.
So that's the definition of politics. Who gets what? Who gets a subsidy?
Yeah.
Who gets a subsidy for their wages during the pandemic?
Yeah.
What communities get sports centers? What communities get community gardens? So if the definition of politics is who gets what, and I grew up with not very much, well then where should I go? Politics. Because then I could decide who gets what. We have $6 billion, and as an elected official, if you're the party in power, you decide where to allocate those funds. Do we make more social housing? Do we build a sports center in the northeast of the island? You have all these ability to decide what to do with taxpayer money. And that's why I went to politics.
That's amazing. Actually, when I read your book, I really like the idea, like you focus on the education, the sports center.
Yeah.
It's that's what the people don't realize. Because I came from China, so the idea there is very different from here. So, but you have a lot of people saying like the United States system, you have the incentives, motivations, right? You don't give people too much, otherwise they're gonna lose the incentives.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to generate the society as a whole to generate more talented people, more kind people, more educated people. You know, you have to have the human resources as a whole society. How do you do that? It has to go through the education system and sports system.
Yeah.
You know, but if you give them too much, they don't feel like they have the motivation to work harder. But that's the double-edged sword. You have to have the balance.
Yeah.
But the basic stuff, you have to provide people. Everybody has to be really educated if they want to. You know, that's I like kind of the system as well. The Canadian system is like you have the welfare. We have the relatively good welfare system.
Yeah.
So,
very good welfare system compared to the rest of the world.
Yeah, exactly. But we are not the most efficient on the working ethics. Work ethics not working very hard on the comparing the United States. People average. I work for an American company. Our branch in Montreal, comparing the people working in the United States.
Oh, different ballgame, huh?
Totally different. I visited the Baltimore. It's a Baltimore. I visited the headquarters. I visit our Irving, Dallas, like for several trips. I felt so different. People, the work ethics. So different. The people there like work like 3 times harder than here, probably, or 2 times.
Why do you think that is?
Because the motivation. Because people, sometimes you have to work harder to get the reward, or not the reward. Sometimes if you don't have jobs, you don't have insurance or whatever, so you feel the pressure. That's a good thing, but it's not. But it's not too good if you have too much stress. You know, it's the colleague, like American colleague, one of them, she's a lady, I guess she told me she had 2 jobs. I thought you paid well, like we're an IT company, probably I thought you paid well. Why do you need probably a second job to cover the family expense?
Health insurance.
Yeah, health insurance. So that's the American system. I always say in the United States, you have a lot more stress to work harder than in Canada.
Yeah, here you could do, but also there's more stress to work harder because there's more materialism. Like even I noticed between Montreal and Ottawa, in Montreal in school, your fashion meant something. It mattered. And there was pressure in school to have nice clothes and big brands. In Ottawa, there was no pressure like that. So even in Canada, it's the conception of materialism or consumerism. An economy is run by consumerism. The people purchasing items to then pay taxes, and then to purchase more items, you need to work and then this is how the economy goes.
Yeah.
If people stop consuming, everything's going to
Yeah.
fail. Like your business will be bankrupt, and everything's going to fail. So in the U.S., because their marketing and the branding and the companies are so powerful at convincing people to consume, now not only it's just a healthcare thing, but it's the big house, the big car, the fashion. We say keeping up with the Joneses. But here, you can have a Toyota, you could go to H&M, have your little house, and everything is all good, and you don't feel like you're being judged as much. But in the U.S., with Hollywood and with everything, around them, the pressure is so high. And I would say even more, it's high on young people who now have social media and who see everyone driving fast cars, becoming millionaires, having all this fancy gear, showing, and then that becomes really, really tough because now the pressure is everywhere. But in Canada, I feel that they're not working as hard also because, one, there's less pressure to survive as, for healthcare reasons. And there's less pressure to keep up with the Joneses from a consumerist perspective. So you could just work your job, go to a little restaurant and have your clothes from your locals from Walmart and have your house and everything is good.
But I think also the US, I really don't like the United States. One thing about its education system. So if you grew up in a neighborhood, really bad neighborhood, you literally don't have a chance.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like Canada, you see more and more like that trend as well. That's why you have, I guess, the focus on the education is like even their parents now making good money, but you still need to take care of the child. They are the next generation. So you have to at least give them, if they want to, give them the university education or at least the high school, whatever, make it really affordable or even free. The US, they do really bad on this one. Even they get the university education, college education, they got a lot of debt. That's super expensive. That's crazy. That's you have to have a good balance to have to get everybody educated if they want to. Have you prepare the next generation as a great citizen if they want to. But if you choose to do crazy things when you are like 16, 17, sometimes you cannot control everything, right? Some people are doing silly things or something they regret, but that's their stuff. But over the time, you give them chance to get back on track. That's the good system.
US does not have the same
that's really bad.
Same chances. And even here, like McGill Law, where I went, is the Harvard of the North, what to say. So I went to one of the best schools in the nation and one of the best schools in the world, and my tuition is a few $1,000s. In the US, you're paying $50,000 a semester. So I think in Canada, like in my book, I talk about racism. It's that, we can fall off track, and unless, I think that there's very little excuse in Canada to not be able to have a basic level of success, say as a Black person or even an Asian person or whatever you may be in Canada. Because the government will offer you $40,000 if you don't work. You have $0 in your account. Okay. The government of Quebec will give you a maximum of $40,000 to go to school, to go to university. So you can get student loan from the government, $40,000. So to go and get a university degree with $0 in your account is possible in Canada. Okay. So there's no real excuses.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Obviously. We're not talking about if you have a learning disability, if you had a criminal record, if you have, something along those lines. Now it becomes more complicated. But the average person really has no excuse.
But also the parents also. I think the lot of troubles I find, at least from stories, it's the parents sometimes, like the parents not taking care of the kids' education. They don't put the priority on the education.
That's not even an excuse, and I'll tell you why. Because say you have a new parent from the Caribbean that comes to Canada, and they immigrated here in the 60s. And they experience racism, housing discrimination, and they feel like they didn't include themselves and they're on welfare. Okay, and say they're not educated. The young boy or girl that goes to school here, barring a learning disability, you still have the capacity to sit in a room, read something, and get a C. So even if the parents aren't like a tiger mom, the person can still go out and learn. And in my story, you saw how I wasn't raised around my parents very much for the first 10 years. And even for the first 10 years, I was in the countryside. I wasn't even in a typical school. So up until grade 5, I had never really done classical schooling, but I could read and I could write. So, you know, even without both parents there very often, without no traditional schooling up until 10 years old, I could still go to university.
So that's the... So
it's more a choice than it is on your parents. So it's like you're 18 or 19, whatever your parents had done throughout your life, is that if you could read and write, there's no excuse to not go to university. And the thing is that I went to adult education. I didn't even graduate high school. I failed grade 10, as you saw, and then I ended up going to adult education. So even if you fail high school in Quebec, you can go to adult education, and you could do, I think it took 4 months to do a 1-year program. So you can graduate Sec 5, what we call Sec 5, in 1 semester. There's no excuses.
No excuses.
There's no excuses.
But maybe to help those young people, probably the community thing, or give them more like
community.
Community stuff, or give them more like training, or the motivational stuff, inspirational stuff. You know, there's a lot of organizations to work with to prevent them from falling through cracks. You know,
for sure. But it's not even, you know, and for me, the way I've seen it, and I'm sure in China, it's the same way. It's not necessarily about community. It's you with your.
But you have strong will. You self-correct yourself. You the Italian police like give you the second chance.
Yeah.
You know, it's because you have strong. You know, you have self-discipline, strong self. But some people they maybe you know. For me, I have a lot of issues with procrastination. So me
too. I procrastinate a lot. Trust me. But the Italian police gave me a second chance, and I think that our judicial system is more aware of giving people second chances. But I think one of the reasons why I had success is because I never depended on community. So it's like when you're thinking about you have your spade and you have to till the land. If your job is to till it and it's just you, and your mother tells you, make sure it's done before sundown, and you have no help, you're not going to pray for help. You have to make sure you get it done. And I think that's what I've done throughout my life, which is like, you cannot depend on nobody. And if you have that mindset, then you guarantee that the outcome will be based on you. And I think that's the easiest way to have success. And when I got the signatures, at one point I was depending on a whole bunch of organizations to help me. And I say in the book, I went to RBC, I got a loan, and I hired people, and I just basically ran a company to get my signatures, but it was all on me.
That's great. Everything on paper, 22,000?
22,000?
Yeah, 22,000.
But that was on my bank account, my loan, and that was on me. My responsibility. And I think that's where, you know how you say...
How many toners do you need for the printer?
That's a lot of... trust me, there's a lot of money on paper. It's all on you. And when you feel that it's all on your shoulders, you know how you mentioned that you feel like you're always doing something wrong and that you may have stepped on too many toes. That's good in that you feel that you're always accountable. So if you disagree with someone, you say, hey, what did I do wrong? Or if your staff quits on you, you say, "Hey, what did I do?"
Yeah,
wrong?"
seriously.
You always think about how, but that's good because now you're always accountable. So if you want to make,
I guess my wife always thinks that way. Otherwise, she could have left a long time ago. You failed here, failed there, but you're a good person.
There you go. There you go. And I think when you feel as though it's all on your shoulders, then I say I want to get more weight. I want to get back into shape. It's not on my personal trainer. It's not on no one else but me. And then so I think that's so. I hope the book is a blueprint to show people like, yes, you need community. Yes, you need help. I need coaches. I need loyal teammates. I need a loyal team around me. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with you, as they say. So then it's on your shoulders.
I guess a lot of young people need to read your book. Actually, you're really tough. It's is a real fighter. It's crazy. When I see this kind of people, I always admire. The people have strong will. They always fight for things. But personally, I myself cannot do it. But I know what is the good quality of people. I admire people a lot. They achieve a lot of things. I know what is good to achieve things. What is good quality. I just personally think I cannot do it. But I stay.
You're too humble. You have a restaurant. You have a business. 9 years?
Yeah, 9 years.
If you have a restaurant for 9 years, it means you're a fighter.
To be honest.
How many kids you have?
Just one.
Okay.
Without restaurant, we would have 2 or 3 years old. Her name is Alice. I was telling my wife, let's name our kids with letters. So first we'll be starting with A. Second kid will start with B. So we stop letter A.
And what's your kid's name? Sorry.
Allison. Yeah. So I was thinking about, it's like, it's great to have kids. So if we have 5, we'll be A, B, C, D, E. We have 7, will be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The name. Then we had the restaurant. So daughter was 10 years old, so the restaurant 9. So when she was 1 year old, we had the start restaurant. So then, the kind of workload is amazing. It's crazy. So we just cannot have kids.
So you with the A.
Yeah. So we stop at the letter A. So literally stop at the step 1. Otherwise, probably if we have 26 kids, we'll be zebra.
No, 27. Yeah.
Or Zoe. If a girl, let's call the girl Zoe, boy zebra.
Well, I started at B with Bella. Yeah. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Oh, yeah. Georgia could be my last one, my fifth.
I really regret a little bit. I should have more kids, I think. It's, I guess...
It's never too late.
No, it's late for us.
Okay.
I feel really, after turning several years during the pandemic, I feel like I'm a little bit... I used to be very, very confident about my stamina. To be in playing soccer.
Okay, I thought you were talking about making babies.
No. Okay. In playing soccer, I don't run very fast, don't have the sprint power, but I can play 2 hours, all the dog fights, I'm defending somebody. I was all the time with this guy. I was really tenacious. The stamina is my thing. So, but this last 2 or 3 years, I feel tired a lot of time. Every morning, my daughter gonna wake me up, saying, let's have breakfast. You send me to the school. Yeah. So I don't need to have.
But that's so cute, though.
Yeah. I don't need to set an alarm clock.
Your daughter will wake you up.
Yeah.
But that's a great word. I wish I included in my book. Tenacious, tenacity.
Yeah, because I always think if I do more hours, I do things right way, the result will be there. But with 9 years for the business, we are not successful at all. We are doing okay because I put a lot of hours. I'm stubborn, very stubborn. Sometimes I have my principles that I do certain way. I know I just think I need to put more hours.
So we say it's a labor of love, meaning it's not about necessarily the money. It's it's a labor of love.
Yeah. Also, I want to do my version of restaurant.
You want to do your version?
Yeah, my version. A lot of people, my Chinese friends, they always say you need to do this or that restaurant. You need to add this dish, that famous dish, another dish. I said no to all of them. I just want to do
your way.
Yeah, my way is
your way or the highway.
because for me it's like less selection,
Mm.
less choices on the dishes, but with quality food,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
also have the easygoing style of the restaurant, like let people to come to the restaurant, have good food, not great food, but a good food, quality food, and it's a great place for them to chat, to have a social place. So for me, food is one thing, but another important aspect of restaurant is a social place. So that's why I have the online social, this video online social, and then the physical social place for people. So that's why the second floor, the day one I moved here, I know we don't need this big space for the second floor. From day one, we had the club on there. It's a social place. It's free for everybody to use the second floor. That's why it's saying like my view on the restaurant business is very different. I always want restaurant. If you want to get the great food, you probably can cook by yourself. You know, restaurant when we cook food, it's very fast.
Yeah.
We cannot do like 20 minutes a meal. You can. You're gonna when people lot of orders on the wall, you cannot do that slowly. So it's not the best food at all. If you want best food, cook it yourself. And the recipe is online. The YouTube.
Chat or ChatGPT.
Yeah, ChatGPT. And
would you say that Uber and all these companies have helped you in your business? Or?
Yes, they did. During the pandemic 2020, we got a lot of orders from Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Skip Dishes. Without them, we're gonna die. We're gonna die right away. But they just took like 30% for Uber Eats, too much for the 30% commission on the sales.
So, a lot of money.
Yeah. So with the inflation, on the material.
So you're making like 10% per meal. Wow.
It's really bad. Now we're doing much less orders.
Because people can come in and eat.
So the pickup, the takeout, and the dine-in will help us greatly.
But you guys are turning a profit now.
We're doing fine, I guess. It's just like
you're so humble. I don't know if that means you're making millions or you made 100,000.
Yeah, break even, paying my own salary. I guess,
Okay.
And also, I do a lot of hours by myself. So we are. It's not easy to hire extra people.
Wow, that's a tough business.
It's very, very tough. But for me, I feel okay because I do easily 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. But also, I have a huge bonus is I can listen to a lot of podcasts to improve my English at the same time when I cover.
But when do you get to see your wife? Is she not saying when the hell you're going to be home and sleeping with the kids?
When I got home, normally my daughter already in bed. So only in the morning I wake up and then like have breakfast. I send her to school. On the way to the traffic is bad, so I drop her at school. I keep driving to the restaurant. So I kind of do all the things. This morning before you came, I cut a lot of vegetable already, clean the dishes, everything, get ready.
But so when do you get when is family day?
We don't have family days.
Wow.
Yeah, but my wife took my daughter to Disney last month. So they went on vacation without me. All this. Yeah. It's good for me. It's really good. So I'm still learning English. So I listen to a lot of podcasts during the pandemic.
No. Don't talk about the podcast right now. We're talking about your family. Yeah. So you
actually, I have a theory too.
Tell me.
Without spending a lot of time with my daughter, she's 10. I guess she's gonna up 2 or 3 years. She got a whole strong opinion on everything. You don't have close relationship with the teenager anyway for a lot of parents. But for me, my theory is like I don't want to influence her too much on my own silly ideas, to be honest, because I think they can learn by themselves.
No, it's not about influencing children. It's about spending time with children.
That thing is a little bit sacrifice, I guess. But I can only teach her by working hard.
So she knows daddy works hard.
Yeah, exactly. So also like when I grew up, my parents are great. My dad, my mother knows nothing about reading. She could not read or write. My father got only 3 years of education, but they were working super hard. I worked really hard with them, so I really appreciate them a lot. And also they gave me no guidance at all. So give me all the freedom. I chose the major, which school to go to, all my own decision. So all free. So that looking back, I feel that's an advantage actually.
Mm-hmm.
And also every generation, especially the huge change, social change in China, huge change. So every generation, the ideas about culture, about society, so different, huge difference. So sometimes when I was brought up, I got a lot of influence I don't like today. So instilled back in my mind, I still have some crazy ideas or something. I think sometimes it's better to let it, end with me or something. It's when you grow up in an environment, something you have some crazy ideas or that. Every generation has their own destination, their own way of finding out knowledge, the idea about the world. So I trust that thing because my parents, they gave me almost no guide on the view on the life. I learned everything almost by myself, made a lot of mistakes, like have issues with here or there, but you always have troubles. You make mistake, you correct self. Sometimes you feel really bad. Sometimes you find joy, find success, little here or there. So that's my thing, the theory on parenting. But also at the same time, I don't have choice. I have a restaurant business to run. So that's a little bit excuse as well for me to not spending too much time with my daughter. But also I have that little theory because a lot of things I think is wrong today. Even I always change my ideas about politics, about everything, even on the left, right.
But it's not about influencing. She knows her father works hard, but say for example, we fast forward 10 years, so 10 years, right? And you say, every year I spend, I don't know, let's just say 10 days a year, one-on-one, right? Or with your family. 10 times 10, 100. So over the next 10 years, you're only going to have 100 days, which is equivalent of 3 months of time with your family.
Yeah, right now.
So it's like, right? Right? So 10 years of work, breaking even. You talk about efficiency. So you're breaking even 10 years. And you're going to spend 3 months total. And then by 20, now they're like probably out the house.
18. I plan on 18.
Look at this guy.
But actually, every morning I guess from 6 something to like 20-minute drive to the school. And then she always plays Spotify on my phone. And then probably like every day, 40 minutes with her.
Okay, that's good enough.
Yeah, 40 minutes.
But she plays what, music?
Yeah. It's crazy on the took over my phone. Google.
Okay, good. So at least you have some.
Yeah, I know that.
No, the reason why I say that is because, for those of people that know me, as you know, so if you open the book to the first page, who is it dedicated to?
Bella?
Yes. And, so she plays a huge role in my life. And
you post a lot of pictures with her, like
that's my baby.
In the gym, the room.
That's my baby, yeah. And so a lot of my life is dedicated to her, but more importantly, it's that without that, I feel like I would have nothing. So you see, you could talk about law, politics, and this stuff and that stuff. Without my baby, I'd have nothing.
That's why I regret I should have two, more than one.
So then spend more time with the one you have.
Yeah, I will. But probably we're going to manage it better with the restaurant. Probably next year or the year after. Right now it's just like, it's not very easy for me. But then after some time to get it in order. Still in the pandemic mode.
Still?
Yeah. Restaurant business always pandemic mode. I guess with the inflation, with the whole like interest hike right now, with the economy, like they always say recession, I think it will be really tough. It's only the beginning of toughness on the restaurant business.
Very tough.
Yeah. So people are gonna try to save money because to weather the storm, like if you have the mortgage, it's crazy. The interest rate on the mortgage.
6%.
Yeah.
And when you look at the balance, that I think 25, per month now, because the interest is so high, I think I paid $50 off my capital The rest is all interest.
Yeah, it's crazy. So the pandemic may have finished, but I guess the trouble just started.
Well, yeah, and it depends what business you're in, right? A lot of people.
For us, it's bad. For
yeah,
us, totally.
It depends what business you're in.
But also another thing I always want to say, what is the biggest problem for Montreal, Quebec on the politics thing?
The biggest problem
you want to kind of fix?
The biggest problem in any, I think, Western democracy is going to be money management, wasting taxpayer dollars. That's always going to be the biggest problem. The amount of waste at all levels of government is tremendous.
Yeah.
And you think about Canada, right? We have maybe say close to 40 million people, and we're a G7 country. How could you have poverty and homelessness in the second largest country in the world with 40 million people? If you just divide our GDP and the revenues generated from our country divided by 40 million, we would all be millionaires. So in the US, with limited resources and like nearly 400 million people, now you understand how they can't provide healthcare for everyone, and like you kind of get a few things. But I think in Canada, there's egregious mismanagement of money across all levels of government. And you think about Indigenous communities, how is it possible that they don't have clean running water? You know what I mean? It's like, so what happens is that these companies get these contracts to provide water, and then they never fix the issue, and then they just always keep getting more and more contracts.
That's why the accountability,
there is
also the transparency. The biggest thing for me, the Quebec is the potholes on roads. That's crazy. The construction business.
Oh yeah.
If you see a lot of potholes on the road, right away the corruption, whatever things is wrong, is super wrong. Is super wrong.
Yeah. And every year they'll get new contracts and new money, and a select few people will apply for these grants, and the city of Montreal gives away $2 billion in contracts, but the federal government, the number is significantly higher. So it's difficult from that perspective, but that's like the easy one that's universal.
Yeah, but also it's super easy to fix. It's not
that easy to fix.
But it's starting with all the politicians. I would say other time on another podcast, I would say all the politicians, like if you have the chance to speak in front of a microphone or press conference, the first thing you say is potholes. If you have this keyword, potholes, all the time before you start talking. So that will be fixed soon.
But
the mayor, the premier.
So this is the issue, right? There's, say, 5 big players of individuals that fix potholes, for example, or they make roads. And they're all speaking to each other, for example. So they know that they are all going to apply for this job or for this contract, and they're going to take turns.
Yeah.
So then what happens is that there's a competition issue where, for example, if you wanted to sell pork and all the pork dealers said, we're going to charge everyone this price, you have no choice if you want to sell pork. So it's the same thing with, it's a
monopoly.
There was a monopoly. Yeah.
It's a concerted effort.
Yes. And that's why
collaboration between the bad people.
Yes. People are concerned about mafia.
A lot of people saying mafia. That's why I think as a government, you don't have to fix the problem on day one or in shorter period of time. But over time, I think information technology is still the key. You just make it transparent. It's so easy. You have Google Map, right? So easy to have any stretch of the road, and you have an ID to tell them, okay, this stretch of road, let's ID is ABC 67, whatever. Give them ID, this stretch of road, which company constructed, and what time, how long it lasts, and the second time, any work done on this one. So just make it all open. So so when you get this information, this company made this last year, and the next year, potholes showed up already. So you don't have to penalize if you don't have the guts as an official to say like you have to pay $1 million to fix it. If you don't want to take that action, you don't have to if you don't have the gut. But you put all this information out there with very low cost of information technology. Put this right open in the world. The pressure to the public gonna build up naturally. So at the end, somebody gonna have the gut to step up. So,
but that's too advanced for the city. You know, we apparently, even as of last year, the city budget of $6 billion was on an Excel sheet.
That's the thing. You know, the transparent and using the information technology has to be there. You know, this so easy to over the time, so easy. It's naturally somebody gonna step up. You know, if you're not bold enough, if maybe a fighter like you gonna say enough is enough. If I can speak up on this issue, you're gonna have the backing of majority of Montreal people.
That's too logical for the city. That's too.
But you have to. The first step is to expose the problem, to make people visually to see. Okay, on this Highway 15.
I get it.
Everywhere you have to get the information out.
But so there are a lot of.
You cannot. People generally speaking, pothole is too general. You have this road quality issue all the time. We're talking about this 20, 30, 40 years. But you have to give them visual, real data. Like
they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that because first of all, this is a great idea, but it's not. But it's not a novel idea. They know that. Now, what they do is behind the scenes. There's documents where people can go research. Okay, Peel Street has been under construction for 10 years. They could do that via research. But what you're suggesting, it's too logical. The city won't do that. They need it to be opaque. They need it to be difficult to find so that they can continue doing what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why the new generation politicians has to come up. You know, it's the new generation. You know, the old generation or whatever, they have their own interest entwined. You know, have this interest here or there. But have to have people to bring the change. The change is, you know, slowly.
You know what's going to happen? It's not going to be the private sector. Excuse me, the public sector has to be the private sector. So what happens is that there needs to be a group of coders and a group of IT guys that come together. They go get the data and then they upload it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only way.
That could be the best way.
It always comes from the private sector. Look with Uber, for example. We spoke about Uber. The city of Montreal or even local taxi companies, they took them forever to implement this technology. And even now that they did, it's still horrible.
Last time I did the tax corp, right? Corporate. Yeah. They do have the tracking thing.
Okay, it's not bad, but it's still
way
horrible.
Behind. Yeah.
It's way behind.
Way behind.
So the private sector has to come in, and even with public transportation, like our STM cut services were below budget. I can guarantee you if you gave that same budget to Elon Musk, he would be able to provide you with electric buses and everyone would have better transportation. So when you're in the public system, like the city of Montreal, 7,000 employees, they're operating at such a archaic level that's the result that you get.
That's why you could be the best person. Seriously, because you have the will, you strong will. This kind of stuff is obvious, but it's taking strong will to tackle.
For sure, but this is the big problem, right? This is what happens.
But that's the easiest thing to rally everybody behind.
No, but this
only the bad people, only 1% of bad people, they don't like the idea.
But this is the tough part, is that you have 103 elected officials, but you have 27,000 people that work within the city. So when elected officials come in, there's already full-time employees that have been doing the same thing over and over and over again that are unionized. So what power do the elected official have? Very, very little. So when they come in, there's a lot of pushback from the inside. And the issue with that is, say, for example, you work for the city of Montreal for the Squad de Mobilité. You know, you drive around in a Ford F-150 and you move cones. They don't do anything.
They just do that.
They just drive around. I see them. They're parked with the engine on. Say this is there for 10 years. A government that comes in it's very hard for them to start tracking them, to verify if they're doing their work, because now they're anchored in their job, they're unionized, and they don't do anything, and that's just the way it is. So now you have probably 50% of the Montreal workforce that is expendable.
Yeah, but that's why you go through negotiation, persuasion, and a little bit doing slowly but surely. You have to get them perks, get them good stuff, but then at the same time you nudge them a little bit, getting them more efficient.
That's why I said that you should be an elected official.
No, I can't. But seriously, the change has to be made. Through a group of brave people. That's why I like politics, because a lot of people they get into politics. They know if they want to get their ideas implemented, they know in their mind right away they're gonna have resistance. But then you have to be really smart on how to do it, and then to gain the trust of majority, a lot of people. But once a generation, every 10, 20 years, you have a great leader. You will have somebody come up with, because people are going to have enough, like potholes on the road. That's people, I'm really surprised. Like I was in China, I know we really listen to the leaders, right? We don't have an opinion. But I really surprised in Montreal, Quebec, people could kind of get that kind of same situation for so long. I'm really surprised people did not rebel, did not go to the street to demand the change. That's really, what's wrong with the Western democracy? I really thought like something wrong with the system, because if you have everybody knows it's super wrong, but you kind of take that for 20, 30, 40 years, nothing being done.
I'll tell you why. One of the big players, in my opinion, investigative journalism has gone like by the wayside. And I'll give you a great example, right? We get 22,000 signatures. We force a consultation on systemic racism. 38 recommendations come from that. And then the city of Montreal suddenly has 12 engagements. So they completely morphed the work we did of 38 recommendations. They took 12 engagements and then did virtually nothing. The media,
we call Tai Chi. That's what we call Tai Chi.
Yeah. It's just Tai Chi.
Yeah,
it's
Tai
like
Chi. Beautifully.
Yeah, beautiful. It was like Aikido, whatever you want to call it. It's like they took all the energy from the movement that we did and just flipped us over the shoulder like Aikido, like judo style.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, there's one journalist that will expose that we went from 38 recommendations to 12 engagements and nothing was done. You know what? Nothing. Nothing, not a word. I sent out a press release a few days ago about it. No one published it. But if they want to celebrate the new commissioner after 2 years, fighting for their equal rights and and just taking the city by storm and equal, and then when the job isn't done, you don't hear from them. So I think that if you have bold media to start waking people up, I think that's going to come with true investigative journalism. And you know what happened? Le Devoir recently did it. They did a true investigative journalism of what was happening at the city of Montreal with discrimination, and things began to shift. But this is great journalism. Most times it's like a cut and paste from the mayor's press release, and it's just like, there was an article by the mayor in June 15, 2020. The mayor recognizes systemic racism, but they didn't tell you why she was there. She was there because of the signatures of the consultation. So they'll just cut and paste, and then now the mayor can get away with doing whatever she wants to do. So I think that media plays a huge role in igniting people or creating a lot of pacifists. And I think that right now we're in a place where there's a lot of pacifism, but social media is a powerful tool.
Yeah, I guess
if I have something to say about it, I could just go online and be like, "Hey."
That's one question. You are very active on Instagram. Are you on Twitter?
Barely.
Okay, I guess the Twitter probably for the politics, Twitter is way better than Instagram.
Yeah, but I've also made a concerted decision to say, we were a group of say 20 Black people on a Saturday morning talking about racism, and one person said, you have Elon Musk and white people thinking about how to get to the Mars. We're here trying to figure out how to, stop racism. So racism in a lot of ways could just drain your time and energy. So what I have to, instead of paying attention to my baby and doing all the things that I need to be doing in my life, saying, oh, the city of Montreal went from 38 recommendations to 12, and this is my thread in analyzing this. And then at one point you're like, is this going nowhere? Right? Like at one point you're thinking to yourself, where is this going? Because I'm not seeing change happen. Maybe I'm going to spend time writing a book. And then you're more productive with your time. Maybe I'm going to write my bar exams. So right now I'm finishing my bar exams to get to be a legal license. So it's about using, like speaking of Tai Chi, using your energy in the right way to get the most out of it. And sometimes activism seems like a drunken type, like Tai Chi. It's like you're using and spending all this energy, and eventually the drunken master, falls.
Jackie Chan.
Yeah. Eventually you waste, you're done. But right now, at this point in my life as an activist, I'm more on that Tai Chi tip where I'm going to be slow, calculated rather, and I'm going to use my energy as the best way that I can to get the best outcome that I can. But it's no longer going to be a drunken master like Tiger Kung Fu, because I'm just going to expend all my energy. And what you find is that you're fighting water, and then you get out the pool, you're like, hey, nothing happened. Like, no, that's not how you fight water. So I haven't lost hope nor faith, but as I'm approaching my 40 years old in July 20th, I feel like there needs to be a new generation to come up and to keep challenging the city.
I see you are coaching them sometimes, right?
Yes.
Great.
And I'm trying, we're going to start a leadership course very soon, whether it's public speaking, understanding law, democracy, citizenship, to get people to become the change makers for the future. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. The thing happened to your, the recommendation public consultation is like on the construction investigation cabinet commission.
Yeah.
They have thousands of pages of recommendations.
What happened to the What happened to the Charbonneau Commission? Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah. It's like it's like an architect building, the CN Tower, and you get there, and then there's like a 4-story building, and you're saying, well, what happened to the tower? You're like, oh, this is a tower. We're just calling it a tower, but for real, it's a 4-story building. Yeah, that's a good analogy too. Yeah, it's just they divided it by 3.3 or something. I don't know what they did.
It's amazing.
But it's amazing. But the fascinating part, and what I've noticed a lot being in politics, is that the media rarely corrects or adds to the story when it benefits the person. I'll give you an example. I got a death threat, and it was all over the media. And a lot of people said that I invented that death threat during the election to benefit myself. Okay, a lot of people had said that. Turned out that the SPVM found the guy, tracked him down, and there was a criminal case that was open against this person. Yeah. When I sent out that press release, no one published it.
There's no correction.
Yeah. So it wasn't like, hey, this was a true case. Or when Bloc Quebecois came and contested my name, Bloc Montreal, they all jumped on, Balarama goes through another hurdle, and that Bloc Quebecois has contested its name. Now, 40 hours later, when the government says, no, there's no claim, they don't talk about it. So now everyone thinks that like Bloc Montreal is in flux, but for real, there was no claim. So this happens quite often where the problem was raised, but when the solution kind of benefits a narrative or advances a narrative in order to be seen, and that's what happened with these 38 recommendations, whereby this commissioner is celebrated, and then when there's huge flaws and then it gets watered down, the newsroom is like, no, we're not going to touch it.
Also another thing is, that's very curious, myself, very curious, being a politician, like how do you want to take advantage of the mainstream media? or like want to be a friend with them, or like
I don't play that game.
But if you want to get anything done,
I don't play that game.
Yeah.
I don't play that game, and all the journalists know.
Yeah.
When we speak about a given topic, and I'm interviewed by CTV during the last provincial election, and the journalist says these are municipal policies, and his whole talk during this whole report is that our policies are municipal. But we're talking about education, we're talking about immigration, we're talking about the economy, we're talking about all these things that are provincial jurisdiction. And I'll email CTV and say, you are wrong on all these things. So I've challenged journalists on a number of occasions, and I'm not in the business of trying to befriend them to get a good article.
But I think like with the equality, like with the racial thing, I suppose like supposed to be on the side of the mainstream media easily.
It is, but I call it the pornification of racism. So, and ultimately, when racial profiling happens, when CBC publishes the article talking about racial profiling, the activists might think, oh, CBC is doing me a favor by exposing the story. They're just selling your story. Okay. If you send them a press release and say, I have a phenomenal restaurant that's been open for 12 years, and I am a Jamaican that immigrated from here, and this is my success story, they're not going to come see you. They want the story that you got stopped by the police officer, so they continue the narrative of racial profiling, police brutality in the context of Black identity. That's a narrative that they want to talk about. So that's the issue, is that systemic racism and discrimination is part of mainstream media. But what does that say? All that says to everyone in the world, including people of color, Black people, that people that look like them are racially profiled and they're viewed with criminality. That's all that says. So it's part of mainstream media, but it gets into the minds of other people of color that have nothing to do with racial profiling or housing discrimination. They're dentists that live in Westmount, for all we know. And their kids, every time they see people that look like them on TV, they're being racially profiled or they're criminals. So what we're asking for is mainstream media to not necessarily only talk about that. Talk about when the Black actuary is doing some phenomenal work for some private equity firm or whatever. So that's another big issue. But I know I see Black lawyers coming out of Palais des Congrès all the time. We never hear about them. And why? Because they're minding their business. But activists such as myself who are fighting racial profiling, what we're also doing is putting into the mainstream media that racial profiling, police brutality, and housing discrimination is like the nucleus of the Black experience. But it's not necessarily the nucleus of the Black experience. There are other things. And if you look at my book, right? I'll give you an example. I am now a best-selling author. I was number 8 in Canada. And the books ahead of me were not from Quebec, which means that I was number 1 in Quebec. And not a single newspaper, apart from the Toronto Star that published the list, came out and said, hey, Balarama is the best-selling author in Quebec.
That's weird. I would have thought you would be everywhere. You would be.
No, but that's how it is. That's how it is. That's how it is.
That's not.
But that's okay. But so the Gazette was very kind to have highlighted it. But CBC would love to write a defamatory article on me about how Balarama is a bad guy and this during the election. That's a great article for them. That's clickbait. Look, he's a bad guy. He had an organization.
You don't have so many angles to be attacked.
No, I don't. But we
I think you should be the kind of really the mainstream media. You have a lot of good stories with. You should be on them like 24/7.
No, but that's not necessarily.
You have a lot of spirits, like represents a lot of good stuff for them.
But when you watch the news, do you hear good stuff? No, you hear bombs and you hear killings and you hear crashes and that's what sells in the media. But
they used to represent the activism. They used to represent the people and the privileged. They have voice against the the people on the top, on the main stage,
Yeah.
The media is supposed to represent the people really want get their voice. They have really new ideas. They have, they fight against injustice. They're supposed to represent that, right? Even it doesn't, sometimes it's like a little bit minority, but still that's a voice you don't get on the news conference, That's supposed to be the role, right?
For sure, but this is the new reality, is that we all have become media agents in our own way with social media. And that's why we're seeing a lot of news stations sink, right? CBC is there because of public funding, but they don't make money.
That's weird, though. That's weird.
But it's natural because, look, we're doing our own media right now, right?
I don't think the public money should go to a media company if they cannot survive or whatever. Sometimes it should. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm talking about.
No. It's a good point, but no, it's just because of the Canadian heritage. Because say if private corporations were the only one controlling media, then that'd be a little bit tough.
Yeah.
But so I think we do need to, as citizens, like I'm happy to pay in to have, CBC still roll, because otherwise private corporations such as like Post Media would then control all media, and now they could imagine having only like Fox News in Canada type shit, so I think it's valuable to have them, but I think that more and more people are turning to social media. So we have become, if I want to talk about 12 recommendations versus 38, I can go on my social media and talk about it. But
one thing it's really weird. Like the Instagram, you cannot retweet like Instagram. You can. That's the thing. If they do that feature, the Instagram will explode, I think, because I like your idea, your post. If I can repost it, showing on my post, that would be amazing. That's like a Twitter. They're gonna kill Twitter right away.
Yeah. So there's an app where you could repost something. But that's a good point, that they could create that inside the app where it would go on my wall. You can share it on your story.
Yeah. The story does not last long.
No, it doesn't last long.
That's the only thing I like of Twitter. It's so contagious. It's kind of you retweet and it goes everywhere. But Instagram, I use Instagram and Twitter as well. But Instagram, I found that trouble. It's very weird. Every time I like a thing, I want to repost. There's no option.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You can send to some specific person, right? And or a group of you pre-create a group to I send to this group. That's kind of a.
That's a good point. Yeah. Where you could share, you could share my book on your wall if you wanted to with my post.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna send an email to Instagram and ask them.
Yeah, that would be. That's why Twitter is like on the leaders, on the political leaders. They all like Twitter because when you have thousands of retweets and then showing up on their stuff.
But in regards to social media, last but not least, as I see it hit 2:00 here, one of the interesting things is that we're all alive and we're breathing and time is ticking, and how much social media or the Twitter game is really important. Right. So for me, as I think about life, I'm more aware of how I use my time. So why even more and more, I'm not concerned about playing the game. So what I do is, for example, I'll give you an example for my book, right? Say there's no media that very few media that wants to cover it. It's still got number 8 bestseller. You know what I do? I email all the libraries across North America. So I've been doing that over the past 2 days. And libraries that don't have it, so Boston has it, but Chicago doesn't. So now I can order my book in Chicago. Library of Congress has it. The Obama Library doesn't. So I'm getting the Obama Library a copy. So it's like, at what point do we ensure that we're managing and taking care of our own home, if you will? And when I tell this to my friends, what they say is, hey, it's called eyes on the horizon, not eyes on your belly button. So it's not about just taking care of your business and what's going on, but I have an obligation to go onto Twitter and to go onto all the news outlets and to share my ideas because of the public stature that I've if you will, attained by advancing, political ideals. But for me, I'm still very much aware that, listen, life is short. If I were to die tomorrow, no one, my tweets don't matter. What matters is obviously how I treated people around me and my family, and the legacy, both financial and the soft power that I'm able to leave to my baby. The debates on language and race and this microblogging on Twitter, it's a waste of time in many ways. And people get paid, journalists get paid to do that.
Yeah.
So if you as an activist was volunteering your time to advance justice, do you want to be engaging with these people that are just there and they're waiting for the next tweet? It's like, no, let me go eat with friends, eat good food. Let me go have a cigar if I feel like it. Let me go to the gym. Let me enjoy my family time and get away from, all that's going here. And I think that's like, for me in my life, the next step is to ensure that I don't get too clogged up in the racial, linguistic, socioeconomic wars that we're going through, and open my eyes to, life, family, and friends.
Another question I want to ask. Me is like very strict on any weed or something. Never tried any weed. It like you tried, and even you are a drug dealer. but is that really interesting? Is bad, or is any addictive at all? The weed itself.
The weed is dangerous because it can trigger schizophrenia. It could trigger mental health issues.
A lot of people try to scare people from weed, is saying it's a gateway drug.
I think it is a gateway.
It is still a gateway. I should not try. I never tried.
No.
I was planning with my wife, and I discussed. And probably when we try to, because I want to talk about smoking weed. So probably we kind of agreed we try when we're 60 years old. So
that's cool. Okay,
too much damage.
No, because say you told me you're gonna try now, I would tell you that's a horrible idea. I would not.
I'm to 70 years old.
Yeah, 70, 75. I wouldn't recommend for anyone to smoke weed. One of the big things is that if there are mental health issues in the family and a history of mental health issues, smoking weed can not just be a gateway drug, but
beneficial.
Trigger severe and irreparable mental health damage. Okay. So that's the severe part about weed. And unless, in my opinion, it's for medical reasons, I wouldn't recommend anyone.
To relieve the pain. Right?
Yeah. So relieve pain. Some people that have severe seizures or severe, forms of, there's people with, I believe, who have lupus that go through severe amount of pain, and other diseases that your doctor can prescribe different levels of THC, and at times it's not even smoking. At times it's edibles.
But EDC, THC, two kinds, right? There's two kinds. One is making you really high, another making you mellow, right?
That I'm not sure about, but I would always suggest to treat weed like a drug, and the only benefit that it would have is if you consult a medical professional, and then you are guided in that regard. Yeah. But if you are attempting to be any kind of role model or have any kind of influence in society or be a leader, like your 8 hours of sleep, your nutrition, your exercise, your hydration, and your flexibility and your breathing technique is like, that's your base. Like, you go getting a massage every now and then. But there's no advantage, barring a medical necessity, to consume weed.
But right now, it's even your time in the school. It's very, very popular, very widely popular among young kids, teenagers. Right?
For sure, but most people that are smoking weed aren't trying to be Olympians. Like, when I got into the CFL or when I got into college, my goal was to or be the Olympics, as I put in my book, or in the CFL. So it's also different standards of what you're trying to achieve, right? If someone has a group of friends, they don't see a big future for themselves, it's pretty easy to just go.
But it's because my daughter is 10. I'm a little bit worried, like when she's in the
I would not be worried.
really. But when you're in the school, like it's like more boys or less girls, much less girls, right?
Much less, and also I'm sure with the Tiger Mom, your daughter's very academic and does well in school. It's pretty. Most people, I would say, that smoke weed are like your C, B minus students.
Really?
A
lot of Chinese, my friends, a lot of them very worried right now as we speak. They were very because it's a culture difference. Even your parents sometimes they rebel more. When they are when they are teens. So a lot of my friends they worried like they cannot control whatever they cannot.
You can't control it.
They have a lot of influence from their peers, their classmates. They all smoke. Probably
the best thing that you can do when you're trying to convince a child to take weed or not is just to say that, and depending how smart they are in terms of intellect, is to show them the data to say that, listen, if one day you're at a party and someone asks you to smoke weed, I recommend that you don't, but just so you know that it could trigger severe mental health issues such as schizophrenia, and you can have a psychosis. So some people, it doesn't affect them. But for some people, you can have irreparable damage, the equivalent of, for example, if you're schizophrenia, it's the equivalent of mentally of you being in a car accident and having permanent damage for the rest of your life. So it's the equivalent, smoking weed on your initial times, it's the equivalent of openly drinking and driving, and knowing that there's not a large risk, because only 2% of the population have schizophrenia, if not less. But there's a chance. There's a chance that you get irreparable damage.
A lot more than winning a 649.
A
lot more than that.
Yeah. So there's a chance. So you say I can't control your decisions, and I love you as a person and as my daughter or as my son. But we don't have the capacity to take care of you for the rest of your life if you end up having this mental health issue. So we highly recommend to not do that. If you want to have a drink, then you can call me and I'll come pick you up, right? Like, and then don't drink. And these conversations you have to have with your kids. But the chances of them derailing when they're in a good sports team and they're doing well in school is pretty low. Most people that end up doing that is because they don't have the sports infrastructure, they don't have the family infrastructure, they don't have the academic infrastructure, so now they're going to the outlet.
But like generally speaking, the girls and boys, what is the ratio? Like
girls
very low?
That I don't know, but I could tell you just from observing at the high school level, that it was more prevalent amongst boys. But as now that where marijuana is legal, as people have aged and as it's been open to the public, who knows, that number could be more could be closer. But from my experience, it's the ones that smoked, and we were the outcasts. We were the ones that.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I thought it was the mainstream, like cool guys.
Yeah, but we are the cool guys, but we're still
not the majority.
No, we're still outcasts, but from the system, not outcasts amongst the school. We're outcasts from the system, in that we don't feel included in the school. There's no sports centers. The principal's on to you. You're living in a small house with and you don't want to leave home, and all your friends are. You don't have no money, there's no cars, and you go in the streets and you're in the park and you're smoking weed. So.
Hey, actually, for the library, your book, every small city in Montreal, they have library. And if it's not in the library already, anybody can request. I did a request once with another book. Like when I was listening to CBC, there was a Chinese Canadian. She wrote a book called Chop Suey Nation. It was released a month or something. I listened to the radio, so I went to Kirkland library. They did not have for sure because it's new, and so they requested. So they purchased the book, so I can borrow.
Yeah, so I've done that. So Montreal has a few libraries in each borough. So I sent a mass email out to all the libraries.
Even the people like our friends, or they can request. sometimes they don't want to buy, or they can
Yeah.
or they can request through the library.
Yeah, you can request to the library. But also, right now, I know there's 10 libraries in Montreal that are under La Ville de Montréal that have the book. And also, I am going to, I believe on Amazon, it's $25.
Yeah, 25. I pay 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah,
So if you want to get the book, go to Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon is amazing.
Yeah.
In the US, at the beginning, I went to the US side. It's a lot more expensive, but it's on the US side as well. But then the Canadian side, the Amazon.ca, it's
yeah. And on Amazon, we did very well. I think we were #1 hot new releases. We were, top 5 in terms of political memoirs. We did very good.
It's amazing. And also, last thing, I think like from your book, like I'm a big, I admire your mom a lot. She's really a risk taker. Like the free speech, it's really brave. Like as a woman, lady, like even sometimes like leave without notice.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing. Like people really brave to take on a different journey, unknown. That's the fear for a lot of people. I myself, I would love to do a lot of crazy things. It's like taking big risks. Like she's really brave. She's
and for me, when I decide to go to run for provincial election, what's interesting is that people said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you go from running for mayor of Montreal to running for provincial office." But it's like, you see, my mom, we're always traveling, we're always moving.
Yeah, she's really amazing.
Adventurous. So I'm equally as adventurous, similar to my mom. So there's no issue. There's no issue.
Great. More than 2 hours. Anything you want to add, or some? Thank you very much for taking so much time. Talking.
It's my pleasure. I hope everyone goes out and gets the book. And you could follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Balarama Holness. And you could email me also if you have questions, balaramaholness@gmail.com.
Yeah, no problem. I put the link on the Amazon on the description of the video.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
nice, beautiful. Yeah. And if you do purchase it on Amazon, please go give me a review. I won't tell you to give me 5 stars, but if you like, they give me 5 stars and a comment on Amazon. Highly appreciate it.
Yeah, I forgot to give the review after this video. I'm gonna give the review for sure. It's I really enjoyed the book. It's amazing. It's really amazing.
Good.
It's great writing. It's beautifully done.
And who knows? Maybe one day we'll translate it and get it to China.
Mandarin.
So translate in Mandarin. If you have a publisher in Mandarin, let me know.
Yeah. What is the Elon Musk mom, like a woman a mother has a plan.
Yeah.
It's translated in Chinese. It's a big book. It's very popular in Chinese.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Her memoir, her book was super popular in China.
Oh yeah, for sure. Any person that's famous in the West, but who knows? Maybe the Canadian Obama could be famous in China. We'll see.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.